Hi, welcome Hedoknits to the Hedoknits Podcast. I am Talitha Ritter. I am the host of this podcast. Here we talk about the pure pleasure of knitting and collecting yarn. So I hope you enjoy your time here with me. You can find me on Instagram as Hedoknits, Hedo knits. And on Ravelry, I am actingcrazy. So on Ravelry, I do a decent job of making sure all my project notes are up to date, as well as I keep a queue there of all my dream knitting. And I also have some favorites, about 500 favorites listed there. So if you're ever interested in the type of things that I'm knitting, please feel free to join me there on Ravelry. All right, so today, hopefully I won't keep you too long, but I do have a lot to cover because it's been a while since I spoke with you last. It's not going to be exhaustive because I have been busy, but we will go through, of course, what I'm wearing, what I'm working on, what I've finished, as well as give you a flashback of a past knitting project that I've completed and talk a little bit about some project planning, show you some options, and we'll make a decision. So first off, I am wearing the Strathcona sweater. It's a bit modified, but this is a pattern by Tara Morrison, who is Goodnight Day. She does a lot of these super bulky, modern, often boxy, very modern and trendy knitwear designs. So I knit this one out of Debbie Bliss Paloma Tweed, which is it's like knitting with a cloud. I am not a huge fan of super bulky knitting because I find that most of the super bulky yarns, the more roving style single ply wool yarns, are quite hard on my hands. But I found this one and it is just an absolute treat to knit with. It wasn't perfect bang on for gauge for this sweater, so I did have to modify it a bit, but I think in the end it turned out reasonably well. And yeah, like I said, it's like knitting with a cloud. It is a blend of alpaca, wool, acrylic, and it does have these little tweedy viscose snaps as well. And I couldn't be happier with it. It's very warm, it's very soft. I wish you could feel it, but this is the type of yarn that Hedoknits is all about. It's just a pleasure to knit, a pleasure to wear, and just lovely. So that's that. I don't think there's anything more I need to say about that. I wasn't sure about this color at first when I ordered it off Lovecrafts, and I had initially ordered the Rust colorway, and they told me, oh, we don't have enough in stock, they've discontinued it, so can we send you another color? And I hemmed and hawed, and finally I decided on this Sky, it's called, the color. And I actually really love it. I think it's a great color on me. And I'm very happy with it. So I look forward to wearing this again come this fall and winter. Okay, next we've got finished objects. So first off is my On the Beach that I showed you last time as a whip. Remember last time how I said that this yarn doesn't change very much with blocking? Yeah, that was untrue. In my swatch it didn't. However, when I did block this, wet blocked it, and laid it out on the sweater dryer, it did grow quite a bit. And I'm guessing the difference between the swatch blocking and this would have been just the weight of the garment. I didn't hang it vertically, but you know, it all pulls on itself. So this is it. I do love it, even though it blocked out a bit larger than I might have hoped for. It just gives a nice relaxed, oversized, not super oversized, but just relaxed fit. And with the sleeves are a bit longer than I would have hoped, but I'm kind of picky about sleeve length. Yeah, I don't know. It looks fine. It's just when I finished knitting it, it fit perfectly because I wasn't anticipating that it would grow, and so now it's just a little bit bigger, but I still love it. It's incredibly warm. So this is Knit Picks Galileo that I knitted out of. The colors are Quartz and Titan, and it is 50% merino, 50% rayon, And so I thought, oh, okay, well, that'll be a nice summer yarn. It is so hot. I'm guessing they're rayon fibers because they're, it's made from bamboo. I wonder if there's a bit of hollowness there. I don't know. If you know, feel free to comment, but this thing traps warmth, and it is a loose knit. Like, I don't know. Yeah, you can kind of see, like, hello. So yeah, anyways, I'm happy with it. It did not pick up and do anything around the neckline, and you can see that it's kind of pulled a bit there, but that's, I mean, that's fine. The reason I didn't pick up around the collar is because it's striped. I didn't know how I would like that if I did it all in one color all the way around the V. And then I did end up doing some ribbing at the bottom of the sleeves. It's a 1x1 twisted rib, and the bottom hem also. I'm very happy with it. I love the colors. I love this yarn. So after knitting this, I ended up ordering 3 more colors, and I'd love to knit a shawl out of it because I just like, I don't know, you can probably see the drape on this is just bonkers, and it just glows. So I just think it would make the greatest shawl. So that's that. Oh, this is On the Beach by Isabel Kramer, and it is actually a free pattern. So I do encourage you. It uses the contiguous set-in sleeve by Susie Myers, and that's included in the pattern. And it's a beautiful sleeve. It fits nicely, and it's easy. I find sometimes it's a top-down sweater. Sometimes top-down sweaters can be a bit fiddly to start because sometimes they're kind of started in pieces and then you join. And while this one was, it just seemed more intuitive. The way that it started and come together, it just didn't feel like as much of a chore. So that's that. I also finished off a couple pairs of socks. I showed you these ones last time. These are knit from West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply in the Peacock colorway. And I used some leftover Advent yarn from Tammy Wee Colors out of Germany for the heels, toes, and cuffs. I didn't use a pattern. I just used a book that I have that gave me, you know, how many stitches to cast on for the gauge that I got with this yarn. And they turned out good. They're a little bit big. They were the first pair of socks I've knit in probably over 10 years, I think 12 years. So it's good. I'm glad they're done. And so for the next pair of socks, I cast on less stitches, and I think I can cast on less yet after knitting those ones. But I did a modified wedge toe because of the shape of my toes. I wanted it to fit nicely. And then I just did a peasant heel. Same thing for these ones. Same heels, toes, cuff. I just did an inch of 1x1 rib. This yarn is an old discontinued Knit Picks called Simple Stripes, and I have quite a few balls of this. I had gotten like the full pack that they do there, so I still have quite a bit left. So it's unfortunate that they don't make this anymore because I think it's fantastic. I think you'll agree. Again, I used leftover Advent yarn from Tammy Wee Colors for the contrast, and I'm happy with these. Again, I think I could cut out I cut out 4 stitches to go to these, and I think I could probably do with cutting out another 4. Next is my pink velvet. So I participated in the Drea Renee Knits March to May sweater knit along, and I chose to knit the pink velvet. Now, I always swatch for garments, always. I mean, you saw I even swatched for the socks. I swatched for this. I used Knit Picks Capretta Superwash, which is a merino cashmere nylon, fingering weight. And then for the Surrey, I used Primrose Yarn Company Korea Cloud in French Bluebells. This is my first colorwork project. I did swatch for this. I don't know what happened, but I thought I needed to cast on for a certain size based on, because I didn't get gauge. I didn't want to get gauge because I liked the fabric that I had with that Knit Picks yarn. So I did the math. Math is not my strong suit, obviously, not even knitting math. And well, it ended up to be a lot bigger than I had intended it to be. So it fits oversized. If you check out my Instagram, you can see pictures of what it fits like. I'll maybe wear it in the future too on here. But this color work, I mean, it looks like a stained glass or something. It's just beautiful because the Korea Cloud is variegated. It's very soft. This yarn is a bit pilly. I'm not sure that I would purchase it again, also because I had the issues with the gauge. I just don't know if I would purchase this particular yarn again, but it did the trick. It knit up really fast. What else can I say about this? So I did add some body shaping, which is not in the pattern. It's meant to be a boxier fit, but because I could see when I was at the yoke and I did try it on, I thought, oh, it'll be a little bit roomy, but it was also my first circular yoke pattern. So I didn't really know how a yoke would fit me in the perfect size. So I was like, it'll probably be okay. And then once I started to knit through the body and did some try-ons, I realized it was going to be quite a bit larger than the ease that's adjusted in the pattern. So I did end up adding some body shaping just to help skim it in a bit more, and that helped. It's just some light body shaping. I think about every inch. I waited a little bit over an inch after the armpit. I didn't start the decreasing until about where your bra line would sit, because I felt that then the fullness of the bust would be gone and over with, and then you could start decreasing from there. And it worked very well. I find it's quite a flattering fit. I did about a bracelet between a 3/4 and a bracelet length sleeve, which is my preference. And yeah, that's it. What else can I say about this? That knit along is now over, unfortunately, but hope some of you got to take part in it because it was a lot of fun. A good group of people. So those are the FOs that I pulled to show for you. This one was also a new cast on and a finished object between the last time I spoke with you and now. And there might have been something else, but I don't want to sit and talk all day about finished items. I want to talk about some other stuff too. So whips, I just pulled two. I don't know about you, but through this weird time we've been in, I've been casting on everything. My cast on itis is out of control, and no regrets. But I just pulled two because I've got quite a few on the go right now. So the first one we'll talk about is the Arisu. It's by Svetlana Volkova, who is called Tweedy Sheep. This is a paid for pattern. The pink velvet was also a paid for pattern. So this pattern it's a summer top. Let's see if I can find you a picture here. It's a summer top. It is meant to be knit in linen. I loved the lace on the bottom. It totally makes me think of the flowers from Super Mario Brothers. And then I liked how the rest of it was just straight stockinette. So I did a gauge swatch, I did some math. I ended up casting this on in the Fiber Company Road to China Light, which is pretty much the exact opposite of a linen yarn. It is a blend of cashmere, camel silk, and baby alpaca, and it is so so soft, and the color is just to die for. It's called agate, the color, and like I feel like that is bang on for how this looks. It just, the way that they've, I don't know if it's how they've dyed it or how they've spun it, but it's got a bit of a heathered look, but the heather isn't within the yarn. It's like the bulk of the yarn itself is this gorgeous kind of mauvey brown peach, and then it's almost like the halo is the kind of bluey gray, which really gives it this beautiful dimension. It's just, I wish if you haven't felt this yarn, get yourself out there and feel it, because it is the ultimate in decadence and 100,000,000% what my whole Hedoknits lifestyle is about. It is a treat, beyond a treat. It's just like heaven. Like, I could have just knit on this and had it off my needles right away, but I've almost been delaying the gratification, I guess you'd say. But I think this is meant to not have any sleeves, and I think what I'm going to end up doing is trying to modify it to add some sleeves, because you know, it's not linen, it is a bit of a warmer yarn, so I'd like it to be more of a 3-season sweater for me. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that. I am alternating skeins on this. I don't always. We'll talk about that a little bit later, and there's a reason I don't always. But in this one I am. So I think this is the, this is knit in the round. I have a big snarl here because I'm alternating skeins. I have most of the body done. And then I got to figure out how the decreases work up top according to the pattern, and then we'll figure out some sleeves. So I don't anticipate I'm going to finish this anytime too soon, but I've been enjoying the process. So yeah, I can't see the lace very well there because, I mean, it's lace and it'll block out a lot different and a lot better, but yeah, I wish you could feel this. So that's the Arisu and my Road to China Light. I do have another colorway that I purchased in the Road to China Light when it was on sale, because it is a spendy yarn, rightfully so. I mean, it's beautiful. It's just it's billed as a sport weight. Now I think it's quite lofty the way it's spun. I think you could get away with maybe a DK weight, but I mean, use at your own risk. You should always swatch and see what fabric you like best when you knit it at what gauge. Next is, I've been participating in another knit along, and this one is the Casual Daisies Cal, C-A-L. So that's the hashtag. It's hashtag Casual Daisies Cal, C-A-L. And this is a knit along that Dandelions and Daisies and Casual Fashion Queen have been putting on for their birthdays. So you just had to pick a yarn from either one of them or both of them, or a fiber to spin. I'm not a spinner, but I know some people are. And knit it up and crochet, spin, whatever. So I chose a yarn from Dandelions and Daisies, and it is Withered Hydrangea, and it's in sassafras, her sassafras sock base, and it is this was from her Dead Flowers Advent collection, and it's beautiful. It's a variegated speckled dream treat of purples and greens and blues, and there's some really mossy, murky, grungy greens in there that really take what could be a very sweet, cloyingly sweet saccharine colorway, and they really elevate it to being something a lot more elegant. Also, I find some of the purples go into a bit of a murkier color, and that does the same thing. It just really gives it a lot more depth and personality. So this is a fingering weight superwash merino nylon 75/25. It is a high twist, so is it a high twist? It's 2-ply at any rate. It's a bit lighter because it's 463 yards per 100 grams, but this particular pattern is knit at quite a tight gauge, so because they want you to have some negative ease. Did I mention I'm knitting the Beauty School top by Poison Girls, Amy Apple? I am. So it's knit at a tighter gauge because she wants you to have negative ease. So I thought that these two were a good fit because I swatched for a few other things and they just weren't doing it for me with this yarn. So finally I decided to just do this very simple, it's just a very simple mock turtleneck. You know, name the length of your sleeve, you can choose, and then you can either do a cropped version or one to your natural waist. So I'm going to try to do the version to my natural waist and probably my 3/4 length to bracelet length sleeve, depending. I only have 2 skeins of yarn, so we'll see how we go with that. But this is just the prettiest. I just love it. Not much to say about this. I am about 2.5, 3 inches into the body after the armpits. This is knit from the top down, but it is a bit more fiddly because she's put some very thoughtful construction in here to really fit the body well. So I find that her patterns are a little bit more complicated to get going on, but worth it, totally worth it. So that's that. This is also a paid for pattern and it is called the Beauty School. So those are the whips I have here. Next, let's talk about, I have a flashback. So a while back I like to do grab bags or mystery grab bags from dyers because I find you can get a good deal on some nice yarn and maybe something that I might not have purchased myself. So I had gotten one of those from, I think it was 3 skeins from Garn Stories out of Germany. And in there came her super soft sock, was one of the ones I got. And this is 100% merino yarn, and I don't know what the micron count is on this, but it's got to be low because it is so soft. It is like cashmere soft, past cashmere soft. It's so good. So the lighter color, this is the Delphinia Shawl by Ambo O'Brien. This is a paid for pattern. Now I knit this out of, like I said, the lighter color is the Garn Stories super soft sock in the colorway Tea With Me, which was just a really nice, pretty light buttery yellow base with speckles, different colored bright speckles, black speckles, yellow. And then I paired it with sparkle yarn from a dyer that's reasonably local to me called Cog Yarns, C-O-G. And this is her sparkle, let's see what it's called, Glitter Sock, and Memory Lane is the colorway. And the reason I paired these two together, it was a bit of a wild card for me, is because they both had black speckle, and I don't find many yarns that I end up buying have that black speckle. So I thought, even though, and they both had some pinks and some yellows, even though they weren't an obvious choice to pair together, I'm really happy with how they ended up. So this is, as you can see, a triangular, top-down triangular shawl. It is not huge. Most of that is, I mean, that's my takeaway from this project, is often in shawl patterns, it'll say gauge not critical. And yes, gauge is not critical for a shawl, but you do need to be somewhere in the ballpark. And I love Amber O'Brien and her patterns. Super huge fan. She's the sweetest person, and she writes such beautiful patterns. Her gauge is so different from mine. I am a tight knitter and she is a super loose knitter. So I usually have to needle up at least one or two. And in this one, I chose to, even knowing that, I chose to knit as suggested. So it did end up, I had to block it quite aggressively to get the size that I did even out of it. But that's okay. It's just a small shawl. I just would have preferred it was a bit bigger on me. Not anybody's fault but my own. But yeah, it's, I like to wear shawls the old-fashioned way around my shoulders. And as you'll see, it's just, it would be more flattering if it reached a bit closer to my elbow, I feel. But yeah, that's the Delphinium shawl. It's a nice summer white shawl because it's got the lacy bits, but it's beautiful and I love it. And now that I've pulled it out, I'll probably keep it out because it's season appropriate. So that is my flashback. So lastly, or second lastly, I did this last time too. I want to talk a little bit about project planning. Last time we covered choosing the order of colors in a shawl. This time I want to talk about a shawl again. I am planning on knitting the Fleur by Espace Tricot, which is a paid for pattern, but the money goes to charity until the end of May. So I had pulled this. Oddly enough, I do have the yarn and the colorway that it was written for. They used La Bien Aimée DK weight in You Had Me at Tricot, and I actually, even before the shell pattern had come out, I had purchased 4 skeins of that. The pattern calls for 3 skeins, so with how expensive that yarn is, I'd rather keep that for a sweater. So instead I pulled this Fiber for the People. I think I showed you this last time, Match Head. It's an 80-10-10 MCN DK weight, 246 yards per 100 grams, and I had this custom dyed by Taylor. It's a colorway that she has, but it's a custom sweater quantity, I guess you would say. And it has beautiful berries, reds, orange, and then it also has this beautiful soft blue, similar to the sweater that I'm wearing, but quite a bit lighter. So I use this for the main color. Like I said, I have 3 skeins of it, and oh, it's soft and squishy. So I'm looking now at, I don't know if you're familiar with that pattern, but it's a pretty simple garter stitch, I believe it's a garter stitch shawl, but it has these layers of baubles, and the baubles are knit from mohair. And I have 2 choices here. I have this Rowan Kid Silkes, and this is in shade 687 now. I think this was, it's on the tip of my tongue, the name of it. Nectar, I think, is the color of this, Nectar. And it's kind of a light beigey pink. So I don't know if you can see, but this does have a bit of a light beigey pink. So this would pull that out of this. Now, the thing about that is, yes, beautiful, 100%, totally beautiful to choose this. I think it would look fantastic. And keep very true to the original feel of the shawl, because they, with their You Had Me at Tricot, which is a kind of a pinky speckle, they had used a beige tan mohair, so I feel it's very soft, not huge contrast. So I feel that this would stay more true to the original design. But one of the things that I love about this colorway is that you've got your pinks, you've got your blue. Pink and blue together could be very, again, saccharine, but Taylor's put in these deeper, darker speckles that really, I find, make it give it a little bit more grunge and edge. So if I go with this, it kind of downplays that a bit in my mind. So the other choice that I have here is some Sugar Bush Drizzle, which it's essentially the same thing. I find that a lot of these mohairs are very similar. Some don't use as soft of a mohair. That's the only difference I've found, and sometimes the silk can get a bit crunchy too. But this one is, I would say, very comparable to the Kid Silkes. and it is in colorway Rusty Rain 8009. So this I feel would pull out some of the oranges. Now it's not a dead-on match to the orange, but that's okay too. So I think I'm gonna go with this one. I think that it will be much more of a contrast and be kind of the unexpected choice, which in shawls can be really, really nice. I don't know, what do you think? I haven't started it yet, so if you really feel that I should go with the Kidsale Haze, let me know. But I don't know. Fun. I almost enjoy this project planning and choosing yarns and matching the yarns to the pattern more than the actual knitting and wearing it afterwards. I think. I don't know. It's fun stuff anyways. So that's that. Now I do have, it's been a while, so I do have some stash pleasure to share with you. First off, I put in an order and I received this Biche and Bouche Le Gros Silk and Mohair. This is in the dark blue teal color, and I ordered this specifically because I'd really love to knit the Fireflies by Lotta H. Lothgren, which is it's a short sleeve pullover with kind of some eyelet lace along the yoke, and it's just beautiful. I don't even know how I found it. I think I was looking at sometimes I like to look at a yarn on Ravelry and then look at what people have knit out of it to get some inspiration. And I was looking at the Fiber Company Lore, which if you are ever low on your knitting mojo, go do that because it will bring you back to life. I mean, you look at a yarn like that, it's a worsted, or sorry, it's a woolen spun DK weight yarn. So people are using it for color work, they're using it for cables, lace, everything. So it's just a treasure trove, and it works for everything. I digress. This original pattern designer had knit her second sample out of the Fiber Company Lore. So I think that's how I found this pattern. Look it up. It is fantastic. It's such a beautiful pattern. This was the original yarn that she had knitted out of in kind of a rusty color. So I ordered this. This is a DK weight mohair. It's a silk and mohair blend, and you can see it is quite a heavy weight yarn. It's got a bit of a chain net construction under there. So I ordered this for that, and I can't wait to make it. Oh, it's so pretty. Also, what I've been trying to do is do a little bit of economic stimulus locally here in Canada. So the next two are Canadian dyers, and one of the ones that I ordered from was Mineville Wool Project out from the Maritimes, and they had built a pop-up shop on their site with all of this stuff happening. And what they did is they didn't want to take business away from their local yarn shop partners, so what they did is released a special yarn in that pop-up shop. So I picked up this Mineville Wool Project. It's a fine merino sport 3-ply, and they got some special Italian milled merino yarn here, and it's an 18.5 micron, so it's super soft. It says it's a sport weight. I mean, the yardage would suggest that it's a 250 meter yardage, so I think that calculates out to, I had written it down here. I thought I did. Nope, didn't. Anyways, it is a sport weight by yardage, but it seems quite light. Like, I think you could probably knit this up to a heavy fingering weight. I know that the Fleurville 4-ply is more of a heavier fingering weight, closer to this in yardage, so you might be able to get away with a fingering weight project depending how that swatch goes. So I got a few skeins of this. It's in the chestnut colorway, and it's just a beautiful variegated, warm brown, and I love it. And then I made an order from Over the Moon Yarns in Edmonton, and I got 3 of their colorways on their atomic sock base, which is 75-25 4-ply, 437 yards or 400 meters per 100 grams. And I had originally just really wanted this, I think it's this one here. Yes, Space is really big. I saw it on their Instagram and I fell in love. I like how they just wrap up these in hank form. It really lets you take advantage of enjoying these speckles sitting in the hank here. So that is Space is really big, and it's blues and multicolored green speckles, pinks. And then I also ordered this Starburst color, which is pinks. There's a bit of a murky green there, purple, really nice. That was Starburst. And then this one's called Milky Way, and it is very similar in tone to the blues in this one, but on a whiter base. So we've got a white base with pink, and you're getting pretty much the color that it is, and then some deeper blue, kind of a slate blue speckles. So these two would pair really well together in a shawl. And then I also ordered a mini of their Stardust sock, which is, it's not like what I showed you in this shawl. This is, you know, your standard Stellina sparkle base. I don't know, can you see? Probably not. But this is a Lurex base, which I have seen these guys use, and I've seen Ginger Snap, they use a similar base to this. And it's actually a Lurex that's spun as a ply into the yarn rather than, you know, poking out all over like the Stellina does, and it really gives it a much more dramatic spark. Like, you can see that. So this colorway is called NGC 2371, which is I looked it up. I did not know off the top of my head, even though I'm a bit of a space nerd. It is a planetary nebula in the Gemini constellation, which is kind of cool because I am a Gemini. My birthday's coming up soon, and my son's also a Gemini. And this one is just a beautiful tonal deep blue. And yeah, I just wanted to see what this base was about, so I ordered the mini, and I'm a fan. So this Over the Moon Yarns, everything there is space themed and not like lightly space themed. When you see things with names like NGC 2371, these ladies know what they're talking about. So I appreciate that. Fun fact, as an adult, I've been to space camp in Florida, and I've met a few astronauts, and that's something that I'm really interested in. I love how I live out in the country, and every night, as long as there's no clouds, I can look out and see just the whole universe above me, and it makes me feel so small. I find that looking up at space, and I feel bad for people that live in big cities and can't see this, but looking up into space and seeing all those beautiful stars, it's a reality check for how insignificant we are as individual humans. But that's kind of the cool thing too, is that we've all been given the gift of a life of our own, right? And it's up to us to live it and make the most of it. So yeah, that was a bit of a tangent, but that's basically all I had to talk about. Other than that, I've been out in my garden getting the seeds in the ground. I live in Saskatchewan, southern Saskatchewan, and it's just starting to warm up here in the last couple of weeks. Hopefully we could still get some frost, so I just have the more hardy plants in there so far, and probably in the next week I'll finish off. I still have beans and peas. I think that's it that I want to put in there. So yeah, I've been busy out there taking the baby for walks around the yard, spending time with my dog and my husband, and enjoying life. So that's it. Thanks for watching if you made it this far. Happy to speak to you for a little bit. Please feel free to leave a comment and let me know how you're doing. I hope you're doing well through all of this, and I hope I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.